Hello, my name is Troy Vincent. Some of you who've been subscribers to my channel realize that I've erased a lot of videos, and there's a reason behind this. I had too many videos saying the same thing over and over again. But what I want to show you is here's, just so you can see, this is a Bedford, Ohio police report. And you see on the bottom there, this guy Bob, his name is Bob Frederick. Where's right here? There's his name, Bob Frederick. That's when George Lucas actually tried to have me arrested for trying to talk to him about the deal he made to me when I was 7 in 1974. Just to get to the story and make it short, I'm going to go through this whole thing and start all over because for all of you who already know, I'm not telling you anything new. But for everybody else, you're not going to want to believe this. And this is the reason I'm making this. This is going to be the last video I'm making for a long time because it's like I said, I'm saying the same thing over again. I'm repeating myself, and I left about 5 videos up about the subject, and the reason being is because some of those were made before I realized that my evidence had been stolen, and they were some of the first ones I made before I knew that my evidence had been stolen. But to not beat around the bush, if any one of you have ever an idea for a business and you needed ideas, where do you go? I mean, I can tell you in one case, a man went to his cousin and was looking fishing for ideas, and instead of getting them from his cousin, well, his cousin told him about something his friend had said. Well, his cousin knew me, and I'll flash up a copy of his address where he lived and where I lived. His name was Jack Hamburger. Jack Hamburger was at 5707 Robinwood Road, and we were at 5513 Riata Boulevard, just around the corner. He came fishing to me and got me on the phone with the guy who had the idea for this thing, and he said he was going to make me rich and famous. At the time, I was semi-handicapped because I had pulled a coffee percolator down on myself when I was a kid. I mean, I got around pretty good, but I wasn't getting around the way, most normal kids do. As a matter of fact, for years, I didn't even wear shorts and stuff in school because I was burned so bad. I pulled a percolator down on myself, and it stuck to my face here, and it poured down my back and the back of my legs. I was burned 50% of my body, 2nd and 3rd degree burns, and it was so bad that they literally tied me face down to a bed for almost a little over a year, actually, and so even for a long time, I had a habit when I walked to look. I had a lot of accidents once I got out of the hospital because I'd hit my head on stuff because I was always looking over my shoulder when I was walking instead of looking forward because I was so used to being tied to that bed. This person kept coming to my house and saying, "Hey, my cousin wants to talk to you. My cousin wants to talk to you." And he told me he was going to make me rich and famous for the idea. He took it. He never gave me anything. I mean, I'm not saying I've had the worst life in the world, but I mean, there's times when it could have been a lot different, and I truly believe that what he did, it altered the whole course of my life, and my life was never where it should have been. And all this happened around the spring of 1974, and right after that, shortly, we moved to Florida, and I actually remembered about the kid and everything, and I put it on paper. Well, I didn't see it again until 1977, which was about 3 years later. The movie came out called Star Wars. So my father actually took us to see Star Wars, and when he first said something about Luke's father being a Jedi Knight, and that's when I said, "Isn't that mine?" And my dad goes, "No, that's his," and I dropped it, and it didn't come up again until 1999. I'm sure you all know it, and that's the reason for this last video is because it's sort of to in response to the Last Jedi, because first off, Disney or George Lucas don't even know what a Jedi is. He's lied about it, and he made it into something it wasn't, and he lied about the Force as well. He took both of them from me in 1974, lied to me, told me he was going to make me rich and famous. You can all believe this or don't. I don't care if you don't believe it. I really don't. I'm putting the truth out. Between you and God, to whether you believe the truth or not, that's your problem, because God's going to judge you based on whether you believe the truth or not. And if you know the truth and you deny it, then that's your problem, okay? But I'm putting the truth out here for you. I have plenty of evidence here. I got a whole stack of stuff here where I was trying to track the kid down. At first, I thought his name was Lucas. I was looking for somebody named Lucas, and for that very reason, because I remembered about Jedi Knights in 1999. And my mom started telling me a story about me almost dying when I was a kid, and I fell on this Tinker toy, and I said, that's not what happened. I started telling her what happened. I was in this kid's backyard. Well, this is Jack Hamburger, George Lucas's cousin. He almost killed me the same day George Lucas defrauded me of Jedi Knights in the Force on the phone. If you want to see the details, go watch the other videos, but I'm just getting this out here for everybody. Again, you don't have to believe the truth, and I can't force you to believe the truth. And I'm not trying to convince you of something that isn't true. George Lucas took Jedi Knights in the Force from a 7-year-old kid. He used it in Star Wars. He never gave the kid a dime, never did anything for me. He didn't care. He got what he wanted, and then he went on down the road. And basically, and you know, it's a strange thing to me that people are so hypocritical about things like this, because, you know, had I screamed, did the man rape me, you would have jumped, you know, oh, God, you're such a bad person. But as soon as I mention fraud or money, you think that somebody's going to just say that, because I don't want the man's money at this point. I don't. You know, I'm like over 50 now, so to me, it's blood money now at this point. And he sold the whole thing to Disney. I told Disney, as soon as I found out he was selling it to him, I told him, I sent him a letter. They didn't even look. They didn't investigate. So you should actually boycott Disney, boycott this movie, and tell them at least investigate. We want to know the truth, whether they want to do it. And look at the kid's address, because I'm going to show you, like in 73, see, in 73, there was one person living at this address, 5707 Robinwood Road. Then it changed from James Tongate to Jack Hamburger. He had not lived there the whole time I lived there. So, and I even Google mapped it. It was like 400 and some feet from my front door to his front door. I tried to talk to George Lucas when I told you my mother started telling that story. That's when I remembered, was 1999, and all of it came back to me, and I was like, oh, not one of you could imagine how I felt when I remembered that Jedi Knights in the Force came from me, and that George Lucas took it from me when I was 7 and told me he was going to make me rich and famous. And I remembered the phone call. He got me on the phone, made that promise, and not 15, 20 minutes later, I was in Jack Hamburger's backyard, George Lucas's cousin. He almost killed me, and within, I think we Google mapped it, was like 20, 25 minutes till I was at the hospital. Well, see, all the records of my hospital records and everything were all in this document sleeve, along with the piece of paper that I had wrote Jedi Knights in the Force on in Florida, just a few months later in Florida. All that stuff was in this plastic document sleeve, and each one of my brothers and me had one. Mine disappeared, along with my birth certificate and my piece of paper that said Jedi Knights in the Force that I wrote on in 1974, and the forensic lab guy then told me he could date it. So you can believe what you want. As again, he said he could date it and tell you exactly when the ink was made, when the paper was made. And that's the only evidence I had, my birth certificate and those medical records. I tried to even go back and get medical records, and the hospital supposedly doesn't have them anymore or can't find them. But if anybody can somehow get Norton Children's Hospital, downtown Louisville, Kentucky, to come up with my records, I can prove the day that I went to have my palate reattached, because when he pointed a piece of rebar at my face when I was a kid, it ripped my palate loose and it went all the way back. He said, hair more, it would have killed me. Those medical records would prove the day that I talked to George Lucas on the phone. And all you have to do is take that time that I went to that hospital and then go back and get Jack Hamburger's phone records. And I'm pretty sure it was Jack Hamburger, 5707 Robin Road. If not, it was the next house over, 5709. But it was one of those two houses. That kid, and I'm pretty sure his name was Jack Hamburger. So I'm just going with 5707 Robin Road, because that, you know, to remember his name, I thought his name was funny, so I'm thinking it's 5707. But subpoena the phone records. George Lucas called there, and I guarantee you time to the time my hospital records said I was here. If I was there at 2 o'clock, I was on the phone with George Lucas around 1:15, 1:30, and he called Jack Hamburger's house, or Jack called him. So if you could, I guarantee you my medical records will prove exactly about when he called. And how would I know that? How would I be able to pull that out of the air? Now, if somebody in the FBI or CIA or somebody could pull these records, then I know somebody could find them. whether they deny it or somebody's hiding it and they're paying somebody to hide it. Which brings me to another point. My document sleeve. Nobody knew where it was but two people, and I asked them to get them and send them to me or give them to me. They didn't do it. They disappeared. And the only time I talked to them was on the phone, which brings me to the next point. How did somebody else know where they were? Unless they were tapping my phone, which brings me to the other point of dissemination of the illegal dissemination of classified information. How would George Lucas have somebody go and steal my evidence from where it was if he didn't know where it was? Which means somebody had to have been listening to me on the phone and knew where it was and heard me and got into my mom's stuff, found it, and got it out. Because those records, my mother kept our records in them sleeves from the times we were kids. All my stuff from when I was a kid, not all of it, but most of it, the important stuff was in that sleeve, and it's gone. I want my stuff back first. I want my records back. I want my birth certificate. I want my GD. I want my medical records, and I want my piece of paper back, George. And anybody out there, I don't care if anybody believes this, because this is me, between me and you, George. You got my stuff. I want it back. It's mine. It's not yours. Give it back. I'm about done. I'm not complaining no more. I'm telling you. Give me my stuff back. Anyway, Bob Frederick, the guy who I showed you on that first piece of paper, was working for George Lucas, and he came to my house after I wrote George Lucas a couple nights, actually. The first maybe 5, 6 letters I wrote to George, I was being nice and said, hey, remember 1974, remember, you know, Jack and all this, and then I had actually retaliated against Jack for hitting me with a bat and almost killing me with the rebar. Maybe he was angry at me because I busted Jack Hamburger's head with a rock because he almost killed me with that piece of rebar. And I seen him on the corner a couple days later, and I threw a rock and it hit him in his head. My parents took him to his house because his parents were threatening to call the police. And my parents never understood that I had actually almost got killed in his backyard, because when I went home, I picked up a Tinker toy and I felt the roof of my mouth, and there was no roof. I felt there was a hole. And I turned to go to the bathroom, and I fell on the floor. All this is in the other videos. But my parents thought I fell on that Tinker toy that day. They didn't understand that I had gotten hurt in Jack's yard. Anyway, another day we had been in Jack's yard, and he hit me with a ball bat. And I thought my brother did it. I turned around and hit my brother, and because I thought my brother did, because my brother was holding a bat, but Jack had a bunch of bats. So he hit me and then threw it down. Well, the day I got out of the hospital, I asked my brother, I said, that day you hit me with that bat, did I? He goes, no, you hit me with a bat. I said, no. I got hit with a bat first. I hit you because I thought you hit me. That's when I figured out my brother had not hit me with a bat, but it had been Jack, and he had also almost killed me with the rebar. So that's when I hit him in the head with the rock. And I was a smart kid, but I mean, I wasn't smart enough to understand all the ramifications. If I had, what I would have done was making more copies of Jedi Knights of the Force than the one I had, and I would have hid some more somewhere else. I might have, and I don't remember, but I don't remember where they're at right now. And anyway, that piece of paper was in that document sleeve. It disappeared along with all my records, and I want them back. That's all it is. And George Lucas knows. And this last little quote was somebody had said something, and it just kind of like struck a chord, and I was like, yeah, you know, you don't even know. Unsung heroes. Anyway, you all take care. Believe what you want to believe. You want to go see The Last Jedi? If I was you, I would at least demand that Disney look into it. Look at that address I showed you. 5707 Robinwood Road, Louisville, Kentucky. In 1974, there was a Jack Hamburger. And if it wasn't that, it was 5709. And you tell the FBI to look and say, or Disney, to tell you for a fact that neither one of those was ever George Lucas's cousin, because if they do, they're lying. That one of his cousin lived in one of those two houses, and I'm pretty sure it was 5707, and his cousin was Jack Hamburger. He lied. He stole Jedi Knights in the Force. His cousin helped him. Maybe he doesn't even remember either. I don't know, and he probably don't even remember almost killing me with that rebar. He pointed it at my face when I was running full blast. You can see that in the other videos, and part of the reason why I left him up. Anyway, take care.